Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Eye with your host, The Eye. Today we will begin the next installment of the JFK assassination theory. In episode 5, Warren's Web of Deception scrutinizes the Warren Commission's rushed investigation, alleged omissions, and how it might have buried inconvenient truths to protect powerful interests in the government. In this episode, Mafia Ties and Cuban Connections, we look at organized crime's role, possibly links to Jack Ruby, and retaliation theories involving Fidel Castro and CIA plots against him. Picture this, it's 1963. The nation is in shock after President Kennedy's murder in Dallas. Lyndon B. Johnson, thrust into the Oval Office, quickly assembles a blue ribbon panel led by Chief Justice Earl Warren. Their mission? Investigate the assassination and restore public confidence. 10 months later, in September 1964, the Warren Commission releases its 888-page report, plus 26 volumes of supporting material. Conclusion: Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. No conspiracy. Case closed. But from the very beginning, right-leaning voices and independent researchers saw cracks in the foundation. The commission operated under intense pressure to deliver a quick, unifying narrative. Johnson himself reportedly feared that any hint of foreign involvement, especially from Cuba or the Soviets, could spark World War III. So the panel worked with remarkable speed, but critics argue that speed came at the cost of thoroughness. Let's start with the single bullet theory, the so-called magic bullet. The commission claimed one projectile, later labeled CE-399, entered Kennedy's back, exited through his throat, then struck Governor John Connally in the back, shattered a rib, exited his chest, smashed his wrist, and lodged in his thigh, yet emerged nearly pristine, with only slight flattening. Arlen Specter, a young staff lawyer, championed this explanation to reconcile the timing of the shots. The Zapruder film shows roughly 1.6 to 2.3 seconds between the first and second hits on the limousine occupants. Oswald's Mannlicher Carcano rifle required at least 2.3 seconds to cycle the bolt, aim, and fire again under ideal conditions. So if 2 men were not hit by separate bullets in that window, it had to be one bullet doing impossible acrobatics. 3 commissioners, Senator Richard Russell of Georgia, Senator John Sherman Cooper of Kentucky, and Representative Hale Boggs of Louisiana, privately rejected the single bullet theory. They signed the final report for the sake of unanimity, but Russell later told the Washington Post he believed Oswald had encouragement and that the commissions weren't told the truth about Oswald. These internal doubts stayed hidden for years, fueling the sense that consensus trumped truth. Then there's the autopsy. The Warren Commission never viewed the original x-rays or photographs of Kennedy's body. Earl Warren himself decided the images were too gruesome for the other members and even blocked some staff access. The autopsy was performed at Bethesda Naval Hospital under military control, not by civilian forensic pathologists experienced in gunshot wounds. Later critics, including some pathologists, pointed out inconsistencies. The official entry wound in the back placed too low to align with the throat exit under the single bullet scenario. The House Select Committee on Assassinations in 1979 revisited the evidence, and while still affirming Oswald fired the fatal shots, used acoustic analysis to conclude that there was a high probability of a second gunman, directly contradicting the Warren report's lone assassin finding. Even more troubling to conservative skeptics, the intelligence agency's role. Declassified documents over the decades, including the 2013 CIA internal history quietly released years later, revealed that CIA Director John McCone and senior officials engaged what the agency's own historian called a benign cover-up. They withheld critical information from the Warren Commission, specifically the CIA's repeated plots to assassinate Fidel Castro, some involving the Mafia. Had the commissioners known about these operations, they might have more aggressively pursued whether Oswald, who had pro-Castro sympathies and visited the Cuban and Soviet embassies in Mexico City just weeks before the assassination, was acting on behalf of someone seeking revenge. Instead, the CIA assured the commission it had no evidence of conspiracy. The FBI wasn't much better. Director J. Edgar Hoover had monitored Oswald for years, yet downplayed the extent of that surveillance to the Commission. Oswald's defection to the Soviet Union, his return without major hassle, and his fair play for Cuba activities, all known to federal agencies, received surprisingly light scrutiny. When Jack Ruby gunned down Oswald 2 days later on live television, any chance of a public trial vanished. Ruby's own mafia connections and erratic behavior raised further questions the Commission largely sidestepped. The investigation itself felt incomplete. The Commission took testimony from 552 witnesses but relied heavily on FBI and CIA summaries rather than independent verification. Eyewitnesses who reported shots from the grassy knoll or smelled gunpowder near the fence were often dismissed or not fully followed up. Important leads in Mexico City, where someone impersonating Oswald may have visited the embassies, were soft-pedaled. Even the Commission's own staff later admitted that the process was hurried. One lawyer described it as a prosecutor's brief rather than a neutral inquiry. Fast forward to the 1979 House Select Committee on Assassinations. After reviewing the Warren materials plus new acoustic evidence from a Dallas police dictabel recording, they concluded there was probably a conspiracy. That finding, though later changed on technical grounds, opened the floodgates of doubt. Polls in the mid-1960s already showed only about 36% of Americans fully trusted the Warren report. Today, after decades of partial releases and the major 2025 declassifications ordered by President Trump, public skepticism remains high. Those latest files shed more light on CIA withholding, mail monitoring, and Cold War intrigue, but they stop short of a smoking gun. To many patriots, that's the point. The web was designed to obscure, not illuminate. So what does Warren's web of deception ultimately tell us? Not that we must embrace every wild theory, but that powerful institutions, when facing existential questions, sometimes prioritize stability over full transparency. The Commission gave America a tidy answer in a time of chaos, yet the loose threads, the dissenting commissioners, the hidden CIA plots, the autopsy shortfalls, the single-bullet gymnastics continue to tug at our collective conscience. This episode isn't about proving a grand cabal. It's about recognizing patterns of institutional self-preservation that echo into today, whether in election integrity debates or intelligence oversight. The grassy knoll may still be in the shadow, but the Warren Commission's handling of the evidence leaves many good Americans asking, if they cut corners here, what else have we been asked to accept on faith? That's the heart of Episode 5. In our next installment, we'll explore the tangled world of mafia ties and Cuban connections. Until then, keep your eyes open, question the official line with reason, and stay vigilant. This is the Eye, signing off for now. God bless America.